What is it that is giving us durability for our shared current situation? What is your place of refuge from the storm of this world? Where are you running to for strength each day? The big temptation at the moment, as always, is to look into this world for such strength and refuge. Many things offer us what we need for durability. There's immediate comfort of entertainment. Maybe there are long-term hopes of vaccines and the return to school. The opening up of society once again may be all that is keeping us going at the moment. That hope for the future is giving us strength for the present. Nehemiah 8 offers us a much superior place of refuge and strength, not only in the long term, but also for today. God's people had forsaken him. As a consequence, God's gracious discipline had resulted in them going into captivity, first to Babylon and then out into Persia. And then the Persian king Cyrus had issued a decree allowing them to go back to their homeland. But when they returned, there was so much destruction that they had to start rebuilding both the temple and the city. By the time we reach Nehemiah 8, they've just finished the outer walls of Jerusalem. Having this place of protection, of refuge, gave them a certain amount of security, strength, hope for the future. And so they gather into the square before the Watergate and say to Ezra, "Listen, Ezra, read us the Bible. Read to us the law of God and explain it to us." As they listen, they begin to grieve and weep. And I think there are two reasons why they react that way to the law of God. One is that the law of God exposed their own sinfulness. Their ongoing sin and God's perfect holiness really struck them inside and caused them to grieve and weep. The other reason, the second reason, is that their sin had caused this ruin in the beginning. So as they listen to the law of God and they see their own sin, they grieve that their own hearts cause the destruction of all the refuges and hopes that they have in this world. So as they look inwards at their sin and outwards at the rebuilding of the walls, they grieve and mourn and weep because they realize that in themselves they can never be a place of joy or refuge. You know, when we look inwards for strength and we look outwards to the structures and the hopes and the entertainments of the world, we are bitterly disappointed. More than that, we are spiritually weakened. There is a better place to look for strength and refuge. Verse 9, there Ezra breaks into their weeping and he says to them, look, he says, do not be grieved. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Now here is our verse for today. The joy of the Lord is your strength. The word used there for strength contains this idea of refuge, the place of safety. What is it that is keeping us safe? What is it that will enable us to endure both today and for the rest of our lives, no matter what comes our way? For the Israelites of the day, was it the walls of Jerusalem? Was it their own abilities to keep the law of God sufficiently? No, says Ezra, the only thing that will give you strength and refuge is the joy of the Lord. What Ezra is doing is he's turning them away from this inward look of trying to gain their own refuge and strength from within their own sinful hearts. He's turning them away from that outward look at the rebuilding of the walls as a place of eternal refuge. He says, as great as this is not going to keep us safe long term. Instead, we need to keep our eyes on the Lord who saves. Remember, he's saying to them, that the Lord will always save his people. He saved them from Egypt in the long-term past. He very recently rescued them and saved them from Babylon and Persia. And one day soon he's going to save them from their very sin through his own Son, which all of these old salvations really pointed to, that great salvation that Jesus would one day bring. It is in considering the Lord's salvation that we find our joy, real joy, lasting and eternal joy. And it's this joy, looking only to Christ and what he has done to rescue and save us, what he will enable us to do to endure to the end, how he will rescue us, not just in the past, but into the future. As we look at his salvation, we find deep and lasting joy, and that is our place of strength. That is the place that will bring us true refuge. In Nehemiah 8, the Lord's people went away rejoicing. May we do also, for the joy of the Lord is our strength.